Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Board with Each Other, the board gaming podcast that reviews board games and looks at them and asks the question, how well does this play at two players? Whether that be with your significant other, your BFF, or your crewmate that you're trying to entertain in between calibrations. I'm joined, as ever, by my player two, my lovely wife, and my co-host, Hannah Kelly.
Hi, guys.
And today we are looking at Mass Effect, the board game, Project Hagalaz, to give it its full title. Mass Effect, the board game, is a skirmish game played on a map book. If anybody's played Jaws the Lion, Gloom over Jaws the Lion, they'd be familiar with the concept. Very similar. And in the game, you go through a series of missions for which basically form a short campaign. There are three missions in a campaign, but you have optional loyalty missions that you can do for your squad mates in between.
Why would you leave them as optional?
Well, yeah, I mean, you don't have to do them. Maybe you just want to mainline the campaign, but you'd be silly to. So essentially, five missions. They're played on quite small maps. You have obviously Shepard, but you also can choose from Rex, Liara.
Tarling,
Yep.
Garrus, and Lady Shepherd.
Yes, both male Shepard and Lady Shepard, who are represented by miniatures. And you fight basically either the Reapers or
Cerberus.
Cerberus. The Cerberus and Reapers enemies are represented by little cardboard tokens, so no miniatures there. The only miniatures you get are for the main squad. And on your turn, you roll a number of dice depending on what order in the turn you are going. The game has to be played with four characters, so if you're playing with two players, you play two each. And the starting player rolls, I think it's 12 dice. It's 10 or 12. From those, you select three of them to put on your sheet as your actions, so things like moving and attacking, but also using abilities. When you kill an enemy, you gain an experience point, provided you use an ability to do so. If you gain 3 experience points in a mission, you level up.
Ding-a-ling!
Yeah, and you unlock new skills. The objective of the missions obviously change depending on the mission, but it's often sort of go to the space, do something, and then perhaps fight
Kill
a
stuff.
elite enemy, which is like a boss, and they all have their own rules. Combat doesn't feature any dice rolls or card flipping. Basically, you do damage depending on the ability that you used. The different enemies have different shield values, and if you do enough damage to wipe their shields during a full round, so all four players going, the enemy gets removed from the map. At the end of every character's three actions, you flip over a card, which will basically tell you what the enemies do. Bad things happen. The classic co-op, bad things happen card. So it may be that certain enemies activate and attack you. It may cause more enemies to spawn.
Turrets.
Or, turrets fire. There are three cards in each deck, so whether you're playing Cerberus or the Reapers, that are called escalation cards. Once you draw the three escalation cards from the deck, you shuffle it back together and you tick a box. If that happens 3 times during your playthrough, game over. So there's sort of a timed element to it all. If your squad mates are downed, so their shields and their health are wiped out, they can be revived, except for Shepard. If Shepard is downed, you lose the mission altogether. Yeah. All missions have a Paragon and a Renegade objective, aside from the loyalty missions, they're slightly different. But if you do the Paragon objective, which is usually a little bit harder, you unlock additional dice to add to your pool as the campaign goes on. If you complete the Renegade one, you get Renegade tokens, which allow you to be the sort of one use that allow you to change a dice to any dice side that you want.
Loyalty missions, then.
Yeah, so loyalty missions, you basically pick a squad mate and do one of their missions, and if you complete the mission, you unlock a special ability for them at the end.
Yeah, it's the only way that you can unlock that special ability.
Yeah, you can't go through normal level.
Character thematic.
Yeah, and also usually quite powerful.
Yeah.
But because you only have 2 loyalty missions, you can only do 2 out of your 3 squad mates in any one campaign playthrough. One of the fundamental mechanisms of the game, because of the dice pooling aspect, is once characters have used dice, they're removed from the pool for that round. So the character going last usually ends up rolling 3 or 4 dice. So your options start to get more limited as time goes on. To help combat that a little bit, each character, before they roll the dice, can lock in one of the dice rolled by a previous player. So if you know you really want to move next turn and you've only got a small pool, you can lock one of those movement dice in. But yeah, that's about it, I think. I don't know if there's any other rules, wrinkles.
You can fail the first two missions but carry on, but I think if you fail any other ones.
No, if you fail, you carry on regardless, but you'll get the bad ending as such.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's it.
Yeah, well, I should have mentioned that. Win or lose, you carry on to the next mission.
Mhm.
In each mission, depending on what you do, you'll earn a number of war readiness points, which is essentially your score for the
Yeah,
campaign. And how much war readiness you end up with at the end will,
change the flavour text of the
yeah,
narrative book that you get to read because there's
yes,
an accompanying narrative book. So when you complete scenarios, you complete certain things, you get to read the flavour text. You have a cutscene,
yes, you
basically.
do. So, for those familiar with the Mass Effect series, the game basically takes place during the course of Mass Effect 3. So that's where it is in sort of the lore. But yeah, anything else you want to add on sort of the rules front?
In terms of playtime,
Variable, but I would say 30 to 45 minutes.
yeah, it's not a massively long
It's not a
game.
long game, no.
No. And sometimes if, you leave Shepard,
If you decide to go
go running off with Shepard in a odd direction and he gets splattered
Leroy
very quick.
Jenkins, showing my age there if anybody gets that ancient meme. Decided that Leroy Jenkins was Shepherd and run in, as I did, very helpfully on our final game of a campaign once, and then he immediately just gets killed. That's it, game over.
Bye
That was
bye.
that was a fun 3 minutes where I was the only one that got to play. That was cool. So both Hannah and I are massive fans of the Mass Effect series video games. So this was a no-brainer when this came about. It was one of those classic like, oh, this looks interesting. Is it supposed to be terrible? No, okay, insta buy. So yeah, that's why we came to this. Basically, we are big Mass Effect nerds.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to add before we go into scoring?
No, I think let's crack on into scoring. So,
Okay.
first up, under our general scoring criteria, we have components. So, what's in the box and setup.
Yeah,
So, I will say that I think the fact that we've got a map book, I think is absolutely brilliant.
I'm a big fan of map books
I am
too.
a really big fan of map books.
Just because you don't have to fiddle around with
Oh,
modular map tiles.
God, Gloomhaven and the
Uh,
hours and Descent
yeah,
trawling through the individual maps. Love the map book. I think it's really fantastic
yeah,
and it's a great way to be able to play on the table and make it quite accessible.
yeah,
I will say there are an awful lot of cardboard components and ships and turrets and
yes.
doors, and I don't know how they could improve it. I don't know how they could make it better, but I will just say it's a bit of a pain in the arse.
Yeah, it's a bit nature of the beast, really. Unfortunately, I think it's one thing if the elements that they're representing are not interactable, but basically a lot of stuff on the map is interactable with during the course of a game, and you need to be able to either remove them or flip them or do something with them, which means you are in cardboard token
Yeah, and quite often you have
cornucopia
to
land.
stand on top of things
Yeah,
as well, so it
yeah.
can get a little bit much. But I don't really know that there's much they could have done about that, really.
No, I mean, considering we're Gloomhaven veterans, this is
This
baby
is
baby stuff.
Yeah, it is baby
It's
stuff, isn't it? Really.
you're
We also talk about theme under components, and I have
mm,
to say, 10 out of 10 for theme.
oh yeah,
I think they've done an absolutely fantastic job. All the characters and all their abilities have harkbacks to their,
oh yeah,
to the video game.
it's been made by somebody who loves the
Yeah.
series. The designers of this obviously have a huge amount of knowledge and affection for the series because they really nail that aspect of it.
Hmm.
So all the extra stuff, the narrative writing, the you know the as
You
you
even have Joker come through, and you see his sense of
yeah,
humour. You see the characters talking to each other, and that's it's all really cool.
it's definitely nailed that theme very, very well.
Mhm.
The miniatures are good. Very excited to have miniatures of some of my favourite video game characters, which I'm looking forward to painting at some point when, I don't know, the next 10 years when I get around to it. But the miniatures are nice.
Yeah.
They're well designed.
It comes with a nice little baggie for keeping all your enemy tokens in, which I quite like.
Yes, we didn't mention that during rules that you draw enemies randomly from a bag and
Yes.
they increase in intensity over 3 levels depending on where you are in the campaign.
Yeah.
So all of the player boards and the campaign sort of map are all quite large, basically wipe clean,
Hmm.
use a marker on them. So it's quite akin to Twilight Inscription that
Yeah.
similar size sort of boards as such that we reviewed a while back. Comes with one solitary marker that I have noticed
It isn't very
It's
robust.
not very robust. We have played this 11 or 12 times, and it's already starting to give up the ghost.
Yeah,
So just to beware there, a couple of spare markers would have been appreciated in the box, I think.
yeah,
But yeah, no, everything else, it's a really really good package.
yeah.
Like I've got very little issue with it. The setup can be a little bit fiddly, as you say, because
Yes,
there's
and
a
strip
lot of
down does take a
yeah.
while because you have to separate out all your enemy tokens, etc., and put everything back in baggies. But
You
I
compare
mean,
this to other dungeon
yeah,
crawlers and skirmish games. I mean, it's not much. It's not bad.
yeah.
Okay. So what did you score it then?
So I scored it a 7, but I could be tempted to go up to an 8, mainly because of the theme. But I settled on a 7.
Yeah, I went for an 8 because I think but everything in it is perfectly fine. I think the single marker that's dying already kind of knocked a little bit off for me, and that little bit of onerousness of setup. But yeah, I think an 8. It's a really really solid purchase. That okay.
Okay, so then talking about complexity. So, as always, it's not about how complex a game is or isn't, but it's how well the complexity serves the gameplay.
Hmm.
You go.
So I think this sets out quite clearly what it wants to be
Hmm.
and achieves that. What it wants to be is a very approachable, quite light, easy to get your head round skirmish battler.
Yes.
That's what it wants to do. And I think it nails it for the most part. I think it really does nail it. I think I have a few quibbles with the rule book, the way it's set out, because we've missed a couple of rules along the way because they presented in sort of sidebars. And I'm not a huge fan of rule books that do that because it's you're reading through the rule book and then you've got this weird sidebar off to the side that's got a really major rule in it, but it's easy to miss. And also when you're referring back, having to hunt through all these sidebars to find the rule you want is not it. So not a huge fan of that. But I think in terms of being approachable for people to just get people to jump in and play, I think it does a really good job of that.
Yeah. I would also say that because combat is not, again, dice
Yeah,
based,
there's no luck.
there's no luck element to it, which I think can make it more accessible for people. You
Yes.
know what you're going to be able to do on your turn with the
Yeah.
dice that you have, so you can set out what it is that you want to
Yeah,
achieve.
you know exactly what you're going to be
Yeah,
able to do. The only sort of luck factor comes in with the enemy cards of who's going to activate and what
yeah.
happens.
And
But
I mean, you can obviously roll a duff hand and get nothing full of movement, but I mean,
yeah, it happens very quite
yeah,
rarely.
yeah.
There's quite a lot of mitigation things in it to
Yeah.
sort of stop doing that.
I do think we have missed rules, and I do think we have to refer to the rule book quite a bit.
I think it's just sort of elements on different maps, and you kind of forget what they do because you've got
Yeah,
inferno spaces and coolant leak spaces and things like
yeah.
that.
Sometimes line of
They
sight when there are trenches and things can be a
yeah,
bit,
some things are a little bit fiddly, but
Um,
no more fiddly than other skirmish games of its type.
no, and I think if you want to introduce it to somebody who's quite new to board games, this would be a really
Yeah,
good sort of entry, not entry level, but
yeah, I think it's not quite entry level, but it's definitely up there. I think I like the simplification of their line of sight rules
yes,
because
line of sight drives me nuts.
line of sight can be very complicated in some games, and this is really clear. There's no hex limit to the number of spaces. You just draw basically four diagonal lines out, sort of 10 and 2 on a clock face, and the reverse from your
A
character.
straight line from your
Yeah,
character,
straight lines
basically.
from your character. And if something is in the way there, you can shoot them. It's also interesting that enemies don't block line of sight, so you can basically shoot enemies that are behind other enemies, which is something quite unusual.
Yes, and also much liked. I like that.
Yeah,
I'll
it
go to
just
the big
makes
group behind you rather than that scrawny
mm,
husk in front.
it just makes things simple. Where it gets a little bit fiddly, I find, is enemy activation. Not who to activate, but who exactly they go after.
Yeah, that is quite complicated. So
Yeah,
I think they're technically, I can't quite remember,
yeah,
but it's supposed to be either the player that just went,
yeah, or the person with the least hit
hit
points.
points, which can sometimes mean that enemies move in odd fashions.
And it's not
And
clear. It's never been fully clear to me whether you count shields in that or not. We don't, and I think that's the way you're meant to play it. But it's not. It's not overtly obvious.
yeah, I'm sure someone will pipe up and
Yeah,
tell
I'm
us
sure they
that
will.
it's very clearly explained
You
in the
just being
rulebook,
thick,
section C, paragraph
which I
E.
accept. I own my thickness. So yeah. So I think for what it sets out to do, it does a really good job of it. Does it leave me, as in me the player, wanting something a little bit more? It
So
does.
yes, it does, but I've put this under other categories.
Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna plant it in complexity for me.
Hmm.
I feel like one more notch to its bow would really send this into the stratosphere for me. But I like heavy games. I'm not averse to an incredibly well designed light game. This one just perhaps it's because I played so much more complex dungeon crawlers and complex skirmish games. There's just something there where I was just like, I wish there was. I don't know what it is. Maybe it would be some sort of combo system, something like that. Because if you play the Mass Effect games, you can hit them with different effects, and you combo them up, they do loads of damage. There's just something. I just feel like there could have been something there which would have really ratcheted up for me. But again, would that be alienating to
Well, yeah.
perhaps the target audience they're going for? Perhaps. So this is a me issue. And I haven't really marked it down for it. I just wanted to raise it.
Yeah, but I also think again, if we go back to again the theme, which I think is exceptionally strong,
Mm.
it does feel like I'm playing Mass Effect.
Yeah, it does. It has that
You know,
quality of.
it has that quality,
Mm,
and Mass Effect isn't a very particularly complicated
no,
game. It's
no,
very
it's not.
narrative,
No.
story driven, and it's
Yeah,
quite accessible, I think. So again, for me,
yeah,
I agree, but also I'm kind of happy.
yeah. Fine.
However, because I do think that there are little things that are missing, I have only given it a 7,
Uh-huh.
which I do think might be a bit harsh.
No, I've given it a 7 as well. The
Mm.
match on that one. It's not the most well-oiled machine I've ever seen. So yeah, I think there are a few rules wrinkles,
Mhm.
and for that reason, I'm going to give it a 7.
Okay. Next up, we have value for money and shelf life. So,
Mm.
how replayable it is. So, as always, what's the price point?
Now, this retails for 30 quid.
Oh
Um,
my God, that's exceptional value for money. Go
yes,
out and buy it now.
yes, it is. I remember when it came out, I was like, "This is a game that has miniatures and it's £30. What?" I was very surprised. I was really
That is
surprised.
absolutely cracking,
Yeah,
guys.
no, it is. It's
Yeah.
incredible value for money. And if we were just talking about value for money, this would be a 10 for me.
Well, I'm going to have to revise my score based on that. Okay. Right.
However, comma but,
Oh, all right. Okay, go on.
shelf life.
Right. Okay. So I just want to say that we've not played like a campaign game for quite some time.
Yes.
And it was an itch that I had that desperately needed to be scratched.
Uh-huh.
And when we started playing it,
Talk to the internet more about your itches.
you just edited out the last bit.
Yeah, okay.
That's what I made about my itch. So when we got this, I think I went in quite hard and we played it every night
Yeah,
consistently
yeah,
for a really long
we
time. So
did.
I do think we went in quite hot and heavy with this.
Yeah, that's fine. But we also played Gloomhaven every gaming night for like a year.
Yeah, that was during COVID. What
Yeah.
else did we do
It
apart
was it was a weird time.
from Tiger King?
Yeah.
You know, so I do think we may have overplayed it a little bit, and that might be souring
No,
your feels.
I don't think so. I think it's just there's only so much content for me. I think essentially, you play this three at the max 4 times through the campaign. You would have seen absolutely everything with quite a lot of repetition in those later plays.
I think it's
So
worth mentioning
yeah,
that your campaigns are linear. So if you're going for the left-hand campaign route, you will only really fight Cerberus, and if you go for the right hand, you'll only really fight
yeah,
Reapers.
yeah. You've got a choice of 3 missions that branch into a choice of 4, but you only have a choice of 2 depending on where you started. Um,
You know that gif with the woman with the
the
symbols,
maths,
the
yeah,
maths. Yeah,
it's
no.
not that complicated. Basically, you pick a starting mission out of 3, and then you will have 2 options at the next stage
Mm,
between the two you do. But it is 3, then 4, then 3 in
mhm.
terms of the sort of
Pathway.
pathway tree, I guess you could call it. And I just think that we've played the campaign through twice. I feel like I've seen everything.
Yeah.
I haven't seen everything, but I feel like I have. And I don't think the missions are expansive enough to provide much in the way of playing them over again. I'm trying to articulate. There's some games where you can play the same mission over and over again, and there's
Routes
enough
to victory would be different.
routes to victory will be different. There's enough variety of different things going on that it keeps you interested. It's more about the game and less about the mission. But these missions are very tightly constructed, and they play very very similarly each time you play them.
Yeah,
Which, for me personally, that hurts shelf life.
yeah.
Am I complaining? No, because for 30 quid we've had hours and hours of entertainment out of this. But I think I'm done.
What I would also say as well is that in addition to your cannon fodder enemies, so your basic engineers, husks, etc., you do have mini bosses, if you like.
Yeah.
Um, Interestingly, I don't think we've seen all of them.
No,
There are
we've
quite a
seen most.
few,
We've seen
have
most.
we?
Yeah.
But what I would say is that invariably, whilst they all do have different abilities in the same way that your characters have different abilities, they don't have, as you say, that huge amount of impact on gameplay
No,
to make
they're
it
just
feel
tough.
different. They're just tough, and
Yeah.
then they might push you in one direction, or they might. Phantoms, I think, were particularly difficult.
Yeah. I mean,
The
basically,
phantoms were awful in the
in
game as well.
yeah, in general, they do something nasty to you when they attack you. That's kind of it beyond just doing damage.
I mean, that's pretty much how
Beyond,
all enemies work.
yeah, but beyond doing damage, they do like extra bad things. Yeah, I just, I am not complaining, and this is not me marking it down. I'm just being sort of trying to be objective about shelf life here. Interestingly enough, they have announced an expansion coming to this with more characters. And what I found quite interesting is different ways to play the original mission. So I'm interested to see where they go with it.
Hmm.
Because if they create a bit of a living system with this, where they are adding enough in, the shelf life could go up quite a lot by expansions. Unfortunately, I don't think it's got the machine behind it to be able to pump out expansions in a timely fashion, because I think the expansion's only coming in like 2027. So you've got these
Okay.
huge big gaps in between. So I don't think it
Well,
will ever
actually, maybe
be.
you want that. You want that several years between
I think I'll be ready
playthroughs.
to return to it when
Yeah.
it comes out and go, oh, okay, let's have a go. So I'm going to hang on to it for that reason. But yeah, I think in the core box that you won't get as much mileage as you normally get from like a campaign game with this. I don't think
Mm.
you're looking at sort of 10 to 11 hours, not your sort of 20, 30s or upwards.
But for the price point, I
Yeah,
still
you
think
can't
that's
complain for the price point,
absolutely exceptional.
which is why I've scored it a 7.
So I'm going to pump my score up to an 8
Okay,
because
fine.
I just think that price point
Yeah.
is sweet.
Yeah, I think it's a mix between a 10 for value for money price point for me, mixed with perhaps a 4 for shelf life. So
Really, a
you
4
go,
for shelf life. I'd still give it a
yeah, I
6.
don't know, I'd probably give it a 4 or 5. So it balances out to a 7 for me.
Okay, all right, fine.
All right.
All right. And then last up, under our general rating scale, we have fun. Do
Hmm.
you have fun when you play it?
I do indeed. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's really it is a really fun experience. I'm going to get my negative out of the way first
Mhm.
before I wax lyrical. It can get a little bit repetitive. I think that there's not a huge amount of option in terms of actions that you're taking. And once you know what you're doing with your character, you tend to sort of repeat the same things each turn.
Mhm.
That is pretty much the only black mark I've got against it. It can get a bit samey. That aside, particularly later on in the campaign when you've unlocked a load of abilities. Like, I can't remember the last time I had so much fun playing a character in a skirmish game as I do with Rex,
Mm.
because Rex just turns into an absolute brute killing machine.
Yeah.
And that is just so much fun to play. You just go charging into the enemies and you just start shotgunning them all.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's me. That just fits my playstyle to a T. So when it takes a little while to get there, and you have to unlock some abilities. But when you do, those characters start to become really, really good fun to play. I do think there's two characters that are a little bit weaker. Not so much weaker in the game, but just a little bit less fun to play for me. And
Mhm.
those would be Garrus and Tali.
Well, you didn't play
I
Tali.
didn't play it, but I saw
I
enough of
quite
them.
liked
Fair
Tali.
enough. I don't think I would if I got to play it.
Yeah, I quite liked, and I do think that's one of the, so whereas I've said all your enemies, even your mini bosses, kind of feel the same. Actually, playing each of your characters can feel quite different about what
Yes.
their abilities
Yeah,
are.
it does.
So you do have options in terms of if you like to be more crowd control, you can
Mm,
do that and play Liara
yeah.
by putting people, stunning people, giving them biotic
Hmm.
effects. You can be Rex, who's your big DPS
Yeah.
guy, but also quite tanky,
Yeah.
or Garrus who sits at the back and puts shots off, and then Shepard who you just try and hide from things because you don't want
You
to
don't want
die.
to die or her to die. But Shepherd's an interesting one. With Shepherd, you can actually sort of spec
Yeah.
into something like.
I'm being cruel, but
No, 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 no. You're being right because tactically you kind of want to hide Shepherd away because Shepherd dies mission's over. We fell afoul of that a couple of times now, but you can spec Shepherd into a sort of either like a biotic or a soldier, or there's not enough experience to go around to unlock everything on Shepherd's sheet, so you do have to kind of think about where you want to go with it.
what I'd also again go back to the theme.
Mm.
So Mass Effect itself, the game, it does have elements of humour to it, and
Oh
actually,
yeah,
I see the elements of the
absolutely.
humour carrying through into this. So,
Yes.
for example, Garrus's loyalty mission when he went off
It's called Calibrate.
is
I love
calibrate.
that. Yeah.
So he sat there doing his calibrations, and I just think that's again a really lovely little nod and acknowledgement that makes me inhabit the game and makes me have more fun playing.
Yeah, and I think when you're dealing with an IP, if you manage to nail the theme like this has, then you're away to the race,
Hmm.
provided you're interested in it. I'd be interested in how somebody who's never played Mass Effect before felt about this,
Yeah.
because our fun is undeniably biased.
Yes.
We are big Mass Effect fans. Would you pick up Mass Effect, the board game, if you never played Mass Effect? I don't know, maybe.
Well, I mean, my dad once bought an Assassin's Creed book, having
He
never
did,
played Assassin's
yes. He didn't know
Creed.
what Assassin's Creed was, yeah. I didn't even know what an Xbox was,
I
but
think he quite.
just reading Assassin's Creed, an Assassin's Creed novel one day. So, you're right.
So I mean, some people do.
Yeah, some people do it. So yeah, this is going to be biased,
Yeah.
and I think we need to own that bias. Like,
Mhm.
are we approaching this objectively, purely from a board game design standpoint?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, no, we're not. We love Mass Effect. This nails the theme. This will appeal to Mass Effect fans
Yeah.
for that reason.
Okay, so how did you score on that basis?
I scored it a 7.
I've scored it an 8.
Okay,
All right, so we add those scores up.
we do. So, as always, we add those up, we average them out, and that gives us a general rating of 7.3, rounded down 7, which
I think that's fair.
I think that's fair. I mean, this is not going to change the world in the board gaming space, but it's a really good it's a
But I
really
also
good.
think it could change the world for somebody
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
terms of like an entry level
Yeah,
accessible board game. I
absolutely.
absolutely think this could be the game that turns somebody from
As a bridging point between the hobbies,
yeah,
it's a good one.
yeah,
It's a really good one. So if you've got that video gamer in your life that likes Mass Effect and perhaps
not so keen on board
would they
games.
be interested in board games? This would be a really good bet
Yeah,
because it's accessible and it nails it.
yeah.
And it is good fun. So yeah, I'm happy with the 7.
Okay, so up next are our two-player rating categories, and first up we have table talk slash getting to know you slash interactivity.
We do indeed.
There's never a quiet moment.
No, there never is. It is in a classic co-op sense very good for having a chat about what you're going to do, but also if you're into the world,
Yeah,
there's a little bit of banter and role play.
yeah. What I'd say is because the map space is quite compact and quite
Mm,
condensed, and because you do the bad thing at the end of every player turn,
mm.
so the enemies move, the enemies are all up in your grill, so no matter how much you plan, you have to react and you have to
Yeah,
talk
it's
about how
very
you're going to
active.
react.
Yeah,
You also have abilities that will interact with other people. So, for example, Shepherd can make one of their normal dice a special dice, for example.
yeah,
So, there's a lot of options to be able to discuss what it is that you're going to do
yeah,
without necessarily quarterbacking, which is a different category. And we'll come to that
yeah. We'll
later.
come to quarterbacking a
Yeah.
bit, but yeah, this is great for table banter.
Yeah.
It's really good, and you are constantly interacting with each other.
So,
You
I've written here Rex gonna Rex.
yeah, Rex Shepherd. But yeah, there's an awful lot of that. So if you want something that's going to get you talking and constantly, talking through your plans, interacting with each other, enjoying gameplay, then this is great for that.
Yeah.
Really, really good. So I gave it an 8.
Yeah, I also gave it an 8.
Yeah, really, no notes. Very, very good.
Excellent. So then on to co-operability.
Indeed.
So I just mentioned quarterbacking,
Mm,
and I think I'm going to give that some pause for thought because actually I do think there is potential for quarterbacking in this.
There is, yes.
The reason being is your dice rolls are obviously on the table, so the pool
Yeah.
of dice that you can pick from, and therefore what actions you have, are very face up. Everyone can see, and if you've got a character, or if you are somebody who's either new to board games or perhaps you've not played that character before,
Mhm.
there is that element of the other person can tell you how to play your character. I've done it with you. I'm like, yeah, but you can use that.
Yeah, we've done it with each other. We
Yeah,
quarterback each other all the time.
yeah.
I think it's one of those instances with a co-op, and this is often the case with co-ops that are quite light and quite simple,
Hmm.
is the rules overhead is not there to force people to stay in their lane.
Hmm.
Everybody's a little bit like everything. You can see very clearly everything that's going on. So if there's a propensity for quarterbacking, it does happen here. I think it's okay with us because we quarterback each other at times, and I
Yeah.
think that's fine.
And we have a similar skill level, and we've been
Yeah,
playing things equally.
yeah.
But if you've got a newbie around the table, then you probably need to be mindful of that and rein it in.
And let them sort of explore a little bit because yeah, it could very well be right for that. You get in each other's way quite a lot.
Yes.
The maps are very, very compact, and it can you can end up in sort of these funnels and these choke
However,
points.
there are modifications that allow that not to become such an issue. So, for example, you can move through other players.
Yeah,
I'm almost adamant there's a rule about you can swap. So if you're blocking a door, you can do that. You
I
keep saying no to me,
no,
but
I
I'm
think it's
sure.
specifically to do with doors, if I remember correctly, and I think you kept wanting to do it in other instances. It's like, no, we can't just swap characters.
Oh, okay, fine.
I think it's something to do with doorways
So
and
you
blocking
only
doorways.
have two characters that can open locked doors, one of which being Shepherd, the other being Tarling.
Yeah,
So you can end up with just Shepherd being able to do
yeah, because we
it.
didn't take Tali in our last playthrough,
Yeah.
and there was one person who could open doors, basically.
Yeah. So if you've got someone who then gets stuck inside of or in front of a door, that becomes really problematic and can hold up gameplay.
Yes, it can.
But it
And
doesn't because there's a modification to allow that to happen.
yeah, but that's quite interesting in its own right as a cooperative puzzle. You've got to be quite careful about positioning
Mhm.
in this. And there's a lot of position based powers that you have to be so far away also or close enough to enemies for them
Mhm.
to have their full impact. Like Garrus needs to be far away, basically.
Yeah. And whilst we talked about line of sight being easier, simplified in
Mm.
terms of how you evaluate whether you've got line of sight or not, it's still quite restrictive.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not like you can just shoot anything from anywhere you are. You still have to be in the right place. It's much easier to understand.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but as we sort of alluded to in table talk, this works really well as a co-op.
Hmm.
It's nice and simple and breezy enough that you really can concentrate on the actual tactics as opposed to trying to get your head round
Yeah.
1,001 rules on your character sheet. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like that, but it's nice and refreshing to play a co-op that's quite simple in that
However,
sense.
one of the things that you often say, and actually I've kind of come to see your way of thinking over the years of doing this, is line.
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, we just merging.
Uh,
Is this idea that you kind of improve.
mm,
I think once we got our head around the rules, I mean, occasionally we did stupid things.
mm.
Leroy
Off you
Jenkins,
go, Shepherd.
yeah, Leroy Jenkins Shepherd.
Yeah.
Um, but actually, the scenarios themselves weren't that challenging.
No. As far as co-ops go, it is definitely on the easy side.
But is that a problem given what it is? No.
No, I don't think it is. I haven't really mentioned it because I don't think it's an issue.
Yeah, but I think it
Some,
is worth mentioning that it's
yeah,
it's not your normal co-op have to play scenarios 3 or 4 times to be able to win.
and maybe that's something I didn't allude to and should have alluded to. That sort of knocked my score down for shelf life for me.
Mm.
Because the thing with the co-op is once you solve it, it starts to get a bit dull.
Yeah,
And
it's not about solving it.
it's not about solving it, but it's just particularly the later scenarios. Ironically, the first scenario, always the way with RPGs, the
Hmm.
earlier stuff is actually harder. When you start getting skilled up, things get a lot easier.
Yeah.
The last scenarios are quite easy because
Hmm.
if you play properly, you're quite well powered by
You
that
start
point.
blasting.
Yes, you go in and start blasting. Just for reference, we never stream this. Back on has just been making finger guns. Just thought I'd mention that. So yeah, how did you score out?
I gave it a 7.
Same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
A bit more challenge
the
would be
best in the
nice.
world, but decent. Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
All right. Finally, then, scalability or FOMO.
Mm.
Would it be more fun with more players? And this gave me pause for thought because you have to play with four
You
characters.
do.
So you have to play two double-headed, double-handed,
Double-handed. Yeah.
double-fisted.
Double-handed.
X-rated podcast, isn't
Double
it?
fisting.
Um, so you can only play with four players. So the question then for me is, would it be better if we had someone other than you around the table?
I mean, it usually is, right?
Usually is. And so, I was like, I don't know how to score this. Do I want more people in my life than my husband?
Okay,
Am I
so
bored?
I haven't approached this in a passive aggressive way. Just away from this. For me, this doesn't need more people at all. Would it be more fun to play with more? But it always is, isn't it? It's always more fun to play the board games with several people around the table. But does it need it? No.
Yeah.
And I think there's an extra complication here. I wouldn't play this with three because then you've got this weird scenario where one person has to have two characters and the other two get one,
Yeah.
which
So it's
just
two or
feel
four.
which just feels a bit odd.
Two, four, or one.
Yeah, 2-4 solo.
Mm.
Yeah, I wouldn't play it with three. Is there any mechanical difference? No,
No.
not at all.
And it wouldn't take any longer because you're still having the same number of
Yeah.
turns and dice rolls because the game is still
And it is
the
simple
same.
enough that playing with the two characters is not
Onerous.
intimidating at all or
No.
onerous. It's very, very simple, very, very easy to do. So I don't think this needs more people at all. And for that reason, I think it's a fantastic two-player experience.
Yeah.
Like it's a proper campaign skirmish game that you could happily play with two people. And for that reason, I'd give it a 9.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable score. I gave it a 7 because, like I said, I didn't really know how to rate it. So I gave it a 7.
Okay, as random scoring comes off again.
I was like, but would it be more fun with more people? Well, yeah, probably.
just
It's,
just missing your friends.
my friends,
It's got anything to do with the game.
it'd be better if there was more people.
Okay. I mean, that's a general rule of thumb. But for this game specifically, I think you're
Fine.
going to have to justify knocking some points off for a 7. If
Okay,
you can,
well.
fine, but
Well, I
that
don't
just
want to
seems
give it a
random.
9 now because I feel like I'm just copying you.
How about we settle on an 8 for
All
you
right, okay,
then?
fine.
Okay, negotiated up. All right. So as a two-player experience, that comes out at a 7.8, which we round up to an 8. So an 8 for two-player or two-player rating, which I'm really
I'm
happy
really
with.
happy
This
with.
is a great two-player game. I mean, you could summarize by saying we're bored with each other, and this is our favorite board game on the Citadel. Yeah,
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 you
there you
did.
go. You see references.
Yeah,
That's it.
well
That's
done.
what the people love. Um, I hope you enjoyed the episode, but yeah, a hearty recommendation from us, and I look forward to the new content coming in 2 years. 2 years, I'm gonna have to wait, but I will definitely be picking that up when it comes out, and that's testament to we've had a generally really good time with this. So until next time, be good to each other, have fun, play lots of board games.